Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences.
Get on with it.
Okay, Dranda Games now makes an appearance with Solar Sphere. So if you remember a little game called Solar Storm, this was a game I reviewed quite a long time ago. Neat little game, kind of a bit like Forbidden Island mixed with Pandemic in a sense. Little co-op, 7 out of 10. It was good. Fine, nothing amazing, but it was good. It was well produced and a nice little portable card game. Well, now they've decided to go a little bit heavier on the weight side and bring out Solar Sphere. By no means is this like a heavyweight game. In fact, I'm not even certain I would call it midweight. I'd say it's still light, but there's a lot more going on in this one than in what Solar Storm had. So with this one, as you can see, there's already a lot of more pieces. I mean, you've got a slight double layer board, you've got a bunch of cards, everybody's got dice and cubes, there's a massive sun map that you build on the board. It's a pretty impressive looking table presence once you get everything out, but already you can tell that there's a lot more going on in this game than there is in other ones. So in Solar Sphere, you're essentially trying to rebuild, civilization for Earth, but this involves building a solar sphere around the giant sun and harnessing its power. The corporation wants everybody to do this, and they're going to reward the person who does it the best. But then there's also a resistance group that for some reason don't want you to do this. Don't ask me why they wouldn't want you to do this, but whatever, that's the theme of the game. And so you're having to fend off some of these ships while also trying to build up the solar sphere and mitigate your own resources, and obviously get victory points because that's the name of every game. So the idea with this is that you have a double layer board with spots for your dice, and starting around, roll the dice and allocate them. So I've got a 1 here and I've got 3 5s. Now I cannot stack 3 5s on this board for obvious reasons at an angle, but I would stack them up a bit like this in a big column. You then gain morale based on what dice you've used. So the higher the number is, the less morale you get. The lower number is, the more morale you get. This is tracked up here where basically you can spend morale in order to gain like extra freebies from the corporation. It's like, look, we got a good reputation with you. Things are pretty good here. We could use a little bit of a kickback, just a little bit of a nice thing to help us out. And the more reputation you've got, the better the rewards you get. But obviously you need to keep replenishing your morale in order to keep that kind of level things up, because if you're on low morale, you could potentially have issues on that front. And so the rest of the game is kind of done with regards to these cubes. So you have a bunch of these cubes which represent drones. It's kind of like a separate currency in the game. You can make them and you have space on your board to manipulate them. And essentially, whenever you're doing various actions like, going out and building certain areas or like fighting off resistance ships, you're spending these drones, you're having to get them back, make more. You've got quite an extensive list of them, but basically it's kind of like your action currency in a sense. This is the main thing you're using to do the action, but then the other bits in the action you do are based on these drones. You then take turns to deploy said drones to the various actions, like go out and build the solar sphere, or go out and hunt down these ships, or potentially hire characters that you can have that give you special abilities. The resistance ships all have a defense value and a reward, but they basically allow you to place drones on them, and whoever places the most drones at the point when they get destroyed gets the bigger reward, but everybody who chips in gets a little prize as well, and they just come in various different shapes and sizes. You're trying to gain 3 different types of resource in order to build the solar sphere, and the different parts of the solar sphere require different resources. So again, it's a resource management game, through and through. But then you've also got these characters that you can grab. So you can add only so many characters to your repertoire before you got to get rid of them, but then they're still worth points if you've got them. So it's cool to get characters in general. And basically they just give you some cool abilities, like being able to gain free resources, or to trade X for Y, or every time you do this, get something else. They're pretty straightforward abilities, but there's a decent selection of them. I mean, there's a whole bag of them here. This is just a small amount of them, but it's something that you can do to kind of develop your engine and differentiate yourself a little bit. So the game just carries on through multiple rounds while this is done, and of course at the end of the game you see who's built the most in the sphere, who's defended a bunch of ships, what characters everyone's got, total up the VP, and who wins. This is an interesting light game. It doesn't do anything different, and that's one thing about this. This isn't what I would call unique. You've seen every mechanic in this in every game that there is. But then again, that was also the case with Solar Storm. There was nothing original in that either. You'd seen that everywhere. Now, in terms of the rules, there is quite a bit to absorb in this. I said it was a light game. It's crossing into midweight territory, but I would say it's still light in terms of what you're doing, but there's quite a fair amount of overhead to get in before you get started. You need to understand how this board works, how your drones work, then you got the different phases, what the different effects do. So there's a decent amount of overhead to learn up front, but then when you get into the game, it's not that complicated. You know, it's just manipulating these drones, rolling the dice, and deciding how you're going to spend those dice. There's a bonus, you know, there's good mitigation for having low and high numbers, because high numbers is all well and good, but having that low morale can get you some pretty nice stuff as the game goes on, so it's a good little self-catch-up. Production-wise, wow. I mean, this game is not that expensive, but this Solar Sphere has good presence on the table. The artwork's really nice, I really like it. A linen-finished rulebook. Not that I really care too much if a rulebook's linen-finished, but fine, you know, you want to go the extra mile. I would have liked something other than cubes, but to keep the cost down, it's a nice, easy thing to manipulate, just to say cube, cube, cube here or whatever. And double-layer board, you know, production quality, pretty sound, pretty solid. The game itself also plays quite smoothly once you've got that rules overhead in mind. You know, the rounds are not particularly complex. There's only 4 phases to them, and most of it is just the deploying of dice in turn order. The rest of them are kind of like, resolve a battle and such. Solar Sphere essentially does what Solar Storm does. It sets out what it wants to do, goes out, achieves it, and is happy with that. Nothing about it is necessarily original. It's not going 120% and giving you like, oh, outstanding, outstanding. But they're good. They're good games. They set out, it's what it says on the tin. Here's the tin. It's got this on it. And you eat it and you go, that was good. That was good. I'd have that again. And that's the thing. It doesn't taste bad. It doesn't have like, oh, we set out to be a resource management game with some variety in play and a little bit of dice manipulation. Okay? And then fails on the dice manipulation. It doesn't do that. It does well at what it does. But again, much like Solar Storm, this is a good game, just not one that I find to be outstanding. It does the job. There's a bit of rules overhead to get over before you start playing, which is probably the one negative I have. It's kind of like, you know, for a game that's not the heaviest game ever, I feel like I'm teaching quite a bit of stuff here. I mean, that's why I'm a little bit like, is this a light game or is this midweight? Hard to tell. I mean, it's creeping towards midweight in terms of how much rules you need to learn, but then once you've got those rules down, the game itself is not particularly that heavy. It's like, you know, the choices are relatively straightforward, and at the end of the day, you're going to focus on what it is you want to do, but you got to pay attention to what's going on, so maybe it is midweight. It's hard to tell. It's definitely on that borderline, and no, I don't do this light-mid nonsense, you know, it's like pick light, pick mid. Pick one of the two, but it's very hard to pick for this one. But the game itself is still solid. Would I play it again? Yeah, I would play it again if it was on the table. If people want to play it for the week, I'd gladly step in and I would have a good time. It's just not one that I would probably keep on the shelf. It's not one that I would bring out, you know, too often. But I would be able to say, yeah, you want a lighter resource management game that looks good, is well produced for the price. You know, it's a decent game. So I would give it a 7 out of 10. I'd say it's good, not amazing, but it's good. I can give it a seal of endorsement, and I can say that if you were a fan of Solar Storm and you thought, oh, this feels like a good refresh of something we've seen before, but done well, then I reckon you'll enjoy this as well. It's kind of the exact same thing. It's a refresh of stuff we've seen before, but done well in a nice little package. And it's good to see, you know, these smaller publishers come out and do these games and actually produce some decent quality stuff. So Solar Sphere, 7 out of 10. Give it a look, particularly if you were a fan of Solar Storm. But remember, they are different games.
Of course!
And finally, to wrap up this bumper collection of reviews, which I swear by the time I do this is going to have to be multiple episodes. I don't think this is going to be a 1-episode thing. But we get to Scout. This one was an interesting one because this was a Spiel des Jahres nominee. And I made the meme at the other one with the gremlins doing the conga line dance, saying that Cascadia, as soon as they found out that they were up against Scout and Top 10, I thought, come on, they've got to be celebrating the win already. You know, I mean, let's face it, Cascadia was going to win that hands down. Top 10 I never saw was going to be that good a Spiel des Jahres game. But I didn't know anything about Scout. I thought, what is this card game that people are talking so highly about? Let's jump into it. Now, being from Oink Games, it means that it costs an arm and a leg, because nothing from Oink Games is ever cheap for some reason. But you're talking £20 for this tiny little box. Granted, you get some cool chips and some well-produced cards in there, but still, you're paying a decent price point for these. But they're small and they're portable, and some of their collection has been pretty good and quirky. But I thought, right, I got to jump into this and find out what is everybody going on about here, because I've heard some good buzz for this, and the fact that it was nominated for a Spiel des Jahres means that it's got to be good, right?
Oh, my dear doctor, you have been naive.
Oh boy, ready to make some enemies? Yeah, I did not see the point of this. This just felt like Rummy with extra steps. That's literally what this game is. It's Rummy with some more restrictive rules in it. I mean, all you're basically doing in this game is you get a bunch of cards in your hand and they're effectively double-sided. You've got a number on one side, and then if you were to turn it over, it would be another number. Okay, great. And the idea is that players are putting out sets. So, for example, I mean, if I get a bunch of cards here, I can go a 4, a 5, and a 6. I could put out a set of 3. Here's my set. And then players afterwards are either trying to beat that set, and there's various rules for what set beats what, or they're scouting, which means that when they've got their hand, they're going, oh, I could use that 6 on the end. You know what? I'm going to take that 6 from you. There you go. But you can have a scout chip, which is a victory point for the fact that I couldn't beat your set. Eventually, that set is getting lower and lower until somebody can eventually beat it, and this process keeps rinsing and repeating. Here's the quirks for this game, though, the unique selling points. Firstly, the fact that they've got 2 numbers. Okay, well, how does that come into play? Well, when you pick up a card from a set, you can turn it whichever way you like, the 6 or the 5. But at that point, it must stay in that way. You also cannot change the orientation of any card in your hand. So as soon as you've got your hand fixed for the round, that's it. That's the way it has to be in that order. If you're picking up a scout set, it can go alongside something, but then it's got to stay there. And at the start of the round, you'll get dealt your cards and go, do I like this hand or do I like that hand? So you have that one opportunity to turn your entire hand over and go, you know what, I prefer this hand. Okay, cool. We'll run with that. I wanted this to be more prevalent in the game. Sadly, that's the only time you do it. This whole thing where it's like, oh, I get to turn the cards either way. That sounds really cool. It's literally just one thing you do at the start of the round. It's completely pointless because it's basically just a weird fancy way of describing mulligan, essentially, because that's all it is. You have no basis as to how the round's going to go or what sets are going to get played, so you don't know if your hand's good or garbage. You're just basically going, well, that's got barely any sets. That one's got slightly more. Fine, I'll turn it over. It's just a deluxeified mulligan, basically. And then, okay, when I take a card, I can turn it either way. Okay, that's fairly cool. But this box quotes 20 minutes. 20 minutes for a game. Most rounds take 20 minutes, let alone a game taking 20 minutes. What? Sorry, especially if you're playing this with 4 or 5 players. No, the rounds take 15 to 20 minutes, not the entire game. This is not a filler by the time you're done with it, I feel. I mean, God, it feels like it. It feels like it. It drags on and on. But this game just frustrated me. But people are sort of going mad for this game and sort of going, oh yeah, I really enjoyed this as a quirky game. It's Rummy with extra steps. Except it's more punishing than normal Rummy. Yeah, you've got a few more choices than normal Rummy, but let's face it, is that really a bar that you gotta quote as being, oh, we beat the bar of Rummy, we have extra choices. Yeah, but it's Rummy. What more did you want? But I just found this to be punishing because most of the time, set comes around to me and I'm like, well, I can't beat that set because the cards in my hand are shut.
John Spartan, you are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
Ooh, better bleep that one out. But, again, alright, fine, I'll just scout and take your card here. Okay, fine, still nowhere that close to a set. Oh, it's come back around. Oh, what a surprise, I can't beat it again. Alright, fine, I'll scout and take another card. Alright, well, still not exactly great. All the while, I'm giving other people points. So they're getting something and I'm getting Zippo. And then I go, finally I can make a set. Fine, here's my 4, 5, and 6. Good, right, fine. And then the next person puts out, oh yeah, but I've got 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom, there you go. And it's like, well, great. That was a thing. I didn't know he had a better set. But, somebody else managed to go around the table once or twice before they got their set beaten. And I barely get a turn. And there's no way I can mitigate that. or plan for it. It's literally just dumb luck, or bad luck in my case. And I've played multiple games of this trying to think, okay, maybe that first game was just bad. I played it at Essen, and Paul Grogan taught a bunch of us, so this was like, the first round took 20 minutes. Seriously, what? The first round took 20 minutes? Come on. And it was quoted, oh yeah, that was a weird happenstance, because surely the rounds would normally go quicker than that. It wasn't a weird happenstance. That happens a lot with a lot of players. The game just takes a bit of a while to do. But, I mean, with 2 or 3 players, maybe it's a lot quicker, but frankly, I find myself playing this with 4 or 5. But I really did not enjoy it from that game. So I thought, okay, I've got to play it a bit more at home. Let's take it home. Let's play a bit more. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't get it the first time. Now, I've played it a few more times. And believe me, I get it. At least I get the rules and I know how to, I have won the game before, but I don't feel like I won it by crafty play. I won it by dumb luck. That's all this game is. Dumb luck. You have a little choice at the start of a round, which means nothing but a mulligan. Who cares? You then have the only choice really being, can I make the set or not? If so, is there any card in there that would be good for me? Yes or no? If there isn't, you've still got a scout, in which case you're taking a rubbish card that's meaningless. But if there's a card that you like, fine, I'll take it. But then other times it's just a case of the set comes round, can I beat it, yes or no? It's not like I can do some crafty tactical play or go, oh, I can gauge what you're doing and get in your mindset. No, it's just rummy with extra steps.
Let the hate flow through you.
Oh, I'm getting frustrated just talking about it. No, I don't get this. This was a Spiel des Jahres nominee. Are you kidding me? This was a Spiel des Jahres nominee. Cascadia, if I literally had played this game and then later on played Cascadia and then you told me that the two of them were going head to head in the Spiel des Jahres nominee, I would literally be like... If you like the game, fine. But, we can all like different games. But this, I don't just find average or meh. I don't like this game. I think it's bad. I can't really say it's a 1 or a 2 because I don't think it's that... I don't know, it's making me angry, but I don't think it's quite that bad. But I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. I think this is just bad. I don't find this game that interesting. I don't find it, to be anything more than some little quirk that they throw in about the different orientation of the cards, which most of the time is just a tiny bit of luck mitigation or a mulligan. As I say, and I wanted this to be the forefront. I wanted a game where I was like continuously going, all right, I'm going to turn my hand this way now. Okay, and then as the game goes on, I'm like, you know what? It'd be better if my hand was this way around now. And do it multiple times in a round. Not just once at the start of a round when I have no information to go on. That's pointless. You might as well give me a random hand of cards. I go like this, and then I just go, there's my hand. Makes the same amount of difference. I don't know. I don't get this. It's well produced. You've got some cool tokens. It definitely, fits in a small package, and it's not a complex game, but people do trip up on the first game trying to think, okay, so what exactly am I trying to do here? And it's like, well, you're just trying to beat cards. That's all it is. Maybe that was the intention. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was literally just trying to be rummy with extra steps, in which case you succeeded. Great. But then don't put yourself up as a Spiel des Jahres nominee. We can do better, okay? I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but sorry. I didn't like this game. 3 out of 10, Scout. Wasting my money. Did not like it. It's going out of the collection fast. And there we go. What a note to end on, eh? All those reviews, and I end on my worst game of the lot. But that's just the thing with these. I mean, I had so many games here to review. World Exchanger, Solar Sphere, Fantasy Realms, Vengeance, World Splitter, Canopy, One Ironauts, or whatever you pronounce it, Scout. There was a ton of stuff to get reviewed, and there was a good, even mix of good and bad. Scout, really didn't like. Vengeance, kind of a bit of a dud for me. Canopy, though, really loved. World Exchangers, a good surprise. Fantasy Realms Deluxe, great if you can afford it, but a great filler game. World Splitters, Solar Sphere, and One Ironauts, good, charming, and they do what they say on the tin, just not outstanding. So, good mix of reviews there, I'd have thought. Good mix of ratings. I'm sure many of you are going to come down hard on me for this, possibly even for Vengeance. But, as I say, we all like different games. That's just the way it is. But it's a good thing that even though this is going to take a lot of time to edit, and a lot of time to get these out. I mean, I'm sure this is going to be like 4 episodes or something, because I don't want to have a 60-minute video of this. I'm probably going to have to split this up into 4 parts or something. But It's good to have got a bunch of these out, but that's not like now I've got no games to review. I've still got to do Endless Winter, Northgard, Heat, possibly Wolves, Converter expansion, Meadow expansion. I got a lot of content to do, and that's before we even get to the top 10 of the year. There's a lot to get done, but a video like this just helps. It helps me get stuff done, in the time that I've got. This is why the top 100 moved to a different time period, because this probably won't be a thing next time, but we'll see. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed all those videos. Hope they were good fun, whether I was raving or ranting about a particular game. But by all means, get your comments down below in all those 4 videos. I haven't bothered to do an outro to every single one. I've just done it as a 4-parter. But get your comments on these videos. Let me know your thoughts on all the games, good or bad. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on a bunch of these, but by all means, I want to hear your reasoned thoughts as to why you love or hate these particular games. But of course, like them, share them on social media, like them on Board Game Geek if I can get them on Board Game Geek. Board Game Geek's a bit funny when you try to put up compilation videos up there, but we'll see. We'll see what I can do. But like I say, just hope you enjoyed watching, and of course, there's plenty more content to come. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple episode. And if you like what you see, you can check out more content on the channel, including reviews I have done for Deal with the Devil, but also the collaboration video I did with All Aboard Gamer, where we talk about 10 overrated games in our humble opinions. Okay, but yeah, you want to hear us rant about a bunch more games, just like I did with Scout? There's a bunch on there. But like I say, different strokes, different folks. Take care, and remember, as always, regardless of which game you like at the end of the day, they're still only games. Bye for now.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy.